Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Jefferson Highway Show. This historic highway was formed in 1915 by the Jefferson Highway Association. It runs from Winnipeg, Canada, all the way to New Orleans, Louisiana. Let's go! Welcome, everyone. Today, we're so excited to have Phyllis Bittner back on the show. She was first on our Big Blend Radio Jefferson Highway podcast that we do with the Jefferson Highway Association. We've been doing that for just over 2 years. And I think Phyllis was actually one of our first guests. When I think back, you can go to minershallmuseum.com. She is the chair of the Miners Hall Museum Foundation, which is in Southeast Kansas, Franklin, Kansas. And Nancy and I can't wait to get there. And we reunited as we're working together. We're working with the association, creating the Jefferson Highway Travel Guide, which is a digital travel guide that is coming out seasonally, starting in June this year. And we're going to be launching that at the conference, the annual conference, which is happening in McAlester, Oklahoma this year. But I tell you what, Phyllis was going to tell us about the Miners Hall Museum, what you can experience there, what you can experience in the area, what the exhibits are about. She's got some incredible exhibits and things happening. She's got something very big coming to town. And she's going to give us a little history of the area, but also some history on the Jefferson Highway, because I know her and her late husband were part of that. So welcome back, Phyllis. This time we get to see you. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me.
This is great. I love, this background I have is a photo you sent me from the museum. So it has all these people involved in mining history in Southeast Kansas, right? And in this picture behind me, all these drawings of people. And I'm explaining that for those who aren't watching that are listening. If you're watching, you're going to see little flashing white lights coming through. And I promise there's no ghosts where I am. But I don't know if there's ghosts in your neck of the woods, Phyllis.
Well, we have heard stories, so they
Oh,
possibly are, right?
I
Exactly.
know. But
Uh,
welcome back. But yeah, the people, that's really part of having a museum, is keeping their stories alive, right?
exactly. And that beautiful mural behind you is was created by Antonio Martinez, and he did such a magnificent job. He lives out on the West Coast. I can't remember exactly which town,
Mm,
but he created that there in
mm.
pieces and brought
Wow.
it to the museum. They had been there earlier, he and his wife Holly, and they had done some other artwork for us. And they loved the museum, and they loved telling the story of the people. And that's one thing we try to tell everyone while they say, "Oh, a coal mining museum, how much fun or how interesting can that be, looking at a bunch of pickaxes or coal mining
Hmm.
tools?" But we like to stress to everyone that we are telling the story of that immigrant family that came
Hmm.
here. Many of them, probably the majority, came for the coal mining, to work in the coal mines, but some of them were entrepreneurs who set up their own businesses and opened their own little shops, or they were a blacksmith and they didn't work for the coal company. They were their own independent businesses. So that photo behind you just is a collection of families and people who played an important role in the coal mining history. We have a legend by that mural, and it's massive. The photo doesn't really show how large this is. It fills
Yeah.
a complete wall. It's beautifully done, and you can learn more about each photo. It tells what role that family played or why they came to Southeast Kansas and that sort of thing. It's a beautiful representation of the museum, that we are not just about a group of pickaxes or drills or mining tools, although we do have that. But
Yeah.
it's more about the family, the immigrants.
Do you get people coming into the museum researching their family history?
Oh yes, we have a little, we call it a research library. Although you can't check books out, it's really more of a research center, and it's a work in progress. But it's massive, and people are always surprised to find their family there. They may
Yeah.
not even know what coal camp they were working in or anything, but they're all indexed, so they can just search a family name and perhaps find their family, and which will then take them to whatever coal camp they lived in or that type of thing. So it's really well used. We have people that will come in not anticipating that, and they will spend hours in that little
Mm.
research center once they found their family, and it takes them on a journey of where they actually lived or what they did.
Oh, wow. Wow. And it's a small town that you're in, right?
Right, right. I don't know now, but probably 200 people are in our community. There were over 400, and then the tornado came through and destroyed the community. And we've done some rebuilding. A lot of the elderly went on to live with their children and that type of thing. But we're a very active community, and people who grew up there uh, have a great love for the community, and they are helping with. They've helped all along with the rebuilding.
That's when you talk about the family and the community. So when people come in to do their family history research, it's not just for the actual mining family. So it could be some of the entrepreneurs that help build the town. So,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Yes,
Okay. So
yes,
that's fascinating because I know that you have an actual, like a little coal camp, like a miner's cabin, right? That people can see when they're at the museum, right? So they can see what it
ex-
was like because it wasn't, I mean, it's like really hard work, but you didn't go home to luxury, right?
exactly. And sometimes a visual, says it all. You think of, oh, a little mining house, but then when you think of most of these families, many had 6 and 8 children. And when you actually see the size of this house and think, how could they possibly? I mean, it's a 1 bedroom. Like the house that we have on site is 3 rooms. There were just 2 typical mining houses that the coal companies provided. And one was called a shotgun house, and it was just 3 rooms. It was a little rectangle building divided into 3 rooms. And then the other was a square, which I actually grew up in, one of the square ones. And it's just
Wow.
cut in fours, like in each room's a fourth of the house, and it's divided into 4 rooms. So it had 2 bedrooms. But it's still hard to imagine they raised 6 or 8 children in that home. Um,
Wow.
so it's
Wow.
pretty interesting. So we created Coal Camp Out Back, which is an outdoor exhibit that anyone can see any time of the day or night or
Okay.
evening. And you cannot go into the miner's house. You have to have let us know in advance, and someone will make arrangements to take you inside because it is all open. Nothing is like behind glass or anything. It is an actual house. So we have to protect the, integrity of
Mhm.
that. So people, if they will call and say, we're coming, we'd love to get into the miner's house, they can walk through the camp and get that outdoor visual of what it was.
Mm. Well, I love this when we talk about people coming to visit Franklin because I don't know if people realize that Southeast Kansas has coal mining history. And I know you're going to be meeting with us in McAlester, Oklahoma for the conference this year for the Jefferson Highway Conference. And you sent me a note. Hey, did you know McAlester has coal mining history too? So we're gonna have to do a whole thing on mining on the route, on the Jefferson Highway. I'm sure Roger Bell, the president, that's another rabbit hole we go down because Roger, Nancy, and I tend to rabbit hole a lot about the Jefferson Highway. There's literal holes on the, no, I'm kidding, on the highway, but well, it's mining, right? But anyway,
Right,
we're
right. Well,
mining for information, but Southeast Kansas is a big mining area that people may not realize. I never thought about it. I always kind of thought coal mining in the desert Southwest, there's coal plants that I know about, and then in the Appalachian region, but I never realized
hmm
Kansas was such a big coal
hmm
mining area.
right. Right. Usually you think of Pennsylvania, West
Oh,
Virginia,
that's right,
some of
Pennsylvania.
those
Yeah.
areas, right? We're big coal mining. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but at one time Southeast Kansas, we produced like a huge percentage of the coal for the entire country. It was like amazing the amount of tonnage of coal that came out of this area.
Yeah.
There were around 300 coal mines just in the little Weir Pittsburgh coal field.
Wow.
And then there were over 100 little coal camps that were set up. That the coal companies would set up. They would bring in their little houses and
Mhm.
until the mines ran out, and then they would move them to another little coal camp. So it was very active, and they advertised actively in the European countries, the little Balkans regions, and we have some of those type of posters and things in the
Oh,
museum that
wow.
where they were encouraging these people to come to the United States, that the streets were paved with gold and how wonderful it would be to come to this country to work in the coal mines. And of course, that brought a lot of people here. And of course, when they arrived, the streets were not paved with gold and the work was just brutal. It was very, very long, hard days, underground,
Mm.
back before there were lights And it was
Oh,
very, very
yeah.
hard.
No electricity. Yeah. I mean, you got to
Right.
think
Right.
no
So they had little
electricity.
carbide lights. So just imagine you had a live flame on your head, on your hat, and that's how you went down underground. That there was not the safety that we would have today. So
Mm.
it was terrible. And many of the miners that worked there really encouraged their children. In fact, just almost made it that they had to get an education because they never wanted them to have to work in a mine. It was
Okay.
just that bad that they and so really all of us, my generation, the next generation, we all really owe a lot to that. My dad went to work when he was 12 in the mines, so
Wow.
we owe a lot to them because they lived that. I say horrible life. They had a good life, but I mean, the work was very hard. But that then they encouraged all of their children to get the education so we can all live the life we live today. So that's
Yeah.
part of that story. Yeah.
That's that part of the story of why you go to museums and keep museums so that, we don't forget who came before us, and I think that's a
Exactly.
beautiful thing on family history or learning somebody else's family history because it makes you think at 12
Mhm.
years old, we were playing, I know I
You're
did
right.
some work. I did I
Yeah.
was kind of there was no as soon as I could
Mhm.
walk and I wanted to do things, it would be, well, you want to buy this? Well, then you better do something towards it.
Exactly.
I
You
was
have
of
to go to
that
work.
generation. I don't know about that now. But then we
Hmm.
have kids doing startup companies. So I should just, it's such a
Right.
different world. You
Right,
think
but
a
this was
12-year-old,
hard work.
yeah.
We have one photo of a young man that probably was about 12, and he's got this big heavy drill, nothing mechanized. It was all by hand and drilling, and it's just
Oh,
heartbreaking to see
and
that
no spa
photo
to
in
go
the
to after
museum.
that.
And
Yeah.
then we have little quotes scattered throughout the museum, and people love that, even though they don't know that person, but it was something that and they're little short clips that you can just walk along and read. They're randomly
Mhm.
posted, and some are funny, some are sad, some are heartbreaking. But it's interesting little clips of what those people thought during that time, or what they were
Mhm.
encouraging their children to do, or whatever. So it's a really a beautiful story. Like I say, when you
Mm.
think about it, think of the life we are all living now because of all
Yeah.
of them and what they did.
Pretty, yeah, and talking about the brutal work that they did, you've also got the history of the Amazon army. So I know we're gonna work on a special show. And the last time you were on the show, we were like, we're gonna do a special show. We will do that. So do you want to give everyone just a short synopsis of what the Amazon army is, because you've got to know it. It's a nationally known women's movement, and I even think about what women have gone through in mining and standing up for their husbands, for their brothers. When you actually look across the country, there were a lot of these movements that we don't want to forget about, of what people went through to make changes in the mining industry. I think I may have told you about the Ludlow massacre that happened in Colorado. And they stood up, like, even the unions and everyone was fighting, and people got buried alive.
Exactly.
There's really some harsh, brutal realities to the world of mining, and again, to really respect those who went through that. And all they were trying to do was find a better spot for their family. When you think
Exactly.
about this, these are people looking for, we all want some basic things: food, happiness, we want shelter, we now we want vacations so you can go on the Jefferson Highway.
Exactly.
But
Well, in the photo
yeah.
behind you, actually, in the mural, just to the right of you, as I'm looking
Mm.
at you, it'd be on your left. There's just a yeah. There's the Amazon. That's a drawing, a
Oh,
representation of the Amazon army, and you can see the one lady in the front's carrying her baby, and
oh, right there. Oop.
this was women and children marched in this, and they were protesting. Uh, the conditions of the workers in the mine, and so and try to put this into your perspective. This was 1921. These women were from a variety of European countries. They spoke many languages, and many did not speak English. So one of the leaders of the group, she spoke 5 languages, and she assembled these women. There were thousands. It ended up, I believe it started out 2,000 to 3,000. Then it ended up, it had grown as large as 6,000 women. They marched on the mines, and the importance, the significance to us, the actual site of our mining museum originally was the Franklin Miners Union Hall on
That's
that
right.
site. And that is where that march began. So we are, we're not listed on the National Historic Register, but it is a historic site
Yet.
because that is where that march began. And then they marched on many other mines. And I don't want to tell the whole story because you're going to do a special segment on this, but just to get everyone's interest, this was an amazing group of women. Many were arrested. They called in the state National Guard, and it was of such importance that national news stories were carried about them. And the New York Times is actually the one that dubbed them the Amazon Army. They said it was an Amazon of women march. So they became known as the Amazon Army, and that name has stuck with them through the time. But it is an amazing story. They carried red pepper to throw in the faces of the mine bosses, and they carried like wash tubs and pans and spoons and beat on them to make noise like a drum. They were not armed with guns or anything. And so imagine these women who couldn't speak English
Wow.
creating this protest, what you would call back in those days, facing the Army National Guard, all armed men, with all
And
all the
I got my
weaponry.
pepper.
They had
Yeah.
real guns, and here's these women with red pepper. It's quite a story. It's really
And you're going to think that pepper was valuable too, because spices were, I know this sounds
exactly.
weird, but pepper back then, because especially if you're coming from Europe, those European countries,
Mhm.
pepper and paprika and those spices were an integral part of dishes, right? But to be able to
Exactly.
have that and grow it and try to even, some may have even brought it over from their homeland, their home country,
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
America when they moved over here. And now that's like, that's gold.
Mhm.
It's like,
It's yeah, it's an amazing story, and
wow.
like I say, if people want to stay tuned and listen to when you do another podcast with Linda Knoll, who is also serves on our board of trustees. She is the expert on the Amazon Army, and she has done so much work. She has created a play. We recreated that event one day, and that photo behind you where the lady
Wow.
is carrying the baby was now like 90 years old, and she was in
Wow.
the recreation, and she carried a doll baby, to recreate that march, but
That's
she
amazing.
was the baby in that march. So
Wow.
yeah, just amazing, the
This,
connections, how things kind of
see,
fall into place.
this is such incredible history when you think about what you can experience on the Jefferson Highway, right? And so I
Yeah.
think for youth, do you get a lot of families? Do you get, with kids, and do you get school groups ever that come through?
Oh yes, we have bus tours of like seniors or travel groups like that come in on bus tours. The schools, we have a lot of school tours come in. We have a traveling trunk, which is actually a real trunk like that would have come over from Europe with
Mm.
like a family, and it's filled with items and then we have school plans, lesson plans already created for them, and that traveling trunk can go from school
Wow.
to school, and they can keep it. It can be checked out for like 2 weeks at a time. So we have that. We have people, we're fortunate to have beautiful tourism signs that the state created for us. And we have a lot of people stop in that have no connection to mining. And so it's always interesting. We have surveys, and we always like to find out why do people come or what they
Hmm.
liked or whatever. And many will say they had no connection to mining, but they absolutely loved the museum, and they loved the story that was being told, and
Hmm.
learning so many things, and so many of the little personal things like those little one-liner clips from someone, and that people love all of that. They love that human side of it, and like I said, that's we're facing that today with immigrants. So these were the immigrants in the early 1900s that came here, and what they faced and how they
Hmm.
created lives, and I think I'm like you. I'm going down rabbit holes here. I'm going, but it was a hard life. They worked hard, but I think they all basically felt like they had a good life. They were happy people. Music was a big part of all of their lives.
Oh.
everyone they had music, they had parties, they would gather at their homes, on weekends. There was a lot of drinking. Bootlegging was a big thing in Southeast Kansas, and
Oh,
wine
see,
making. It was
yep,
big.
that's we're
So
gonna
they
do.
had a good time.
We're gonna have to do a bootlegging show. I know Nancy really did go down a rabbit hole and has pretty much written an encyclopedia of the Jefferson Highway, bootleggers, outlaws, moon, all of that's happened. But
Mhm.
this is so, because it's such hard, you have to have some release when it's such hard work, So,
Exactly.
and in that part of it, spirituality, were there churches at the time? You
Oh yeah,
know,
yes,
mm,
yes. So that's and in our museum. So here we are bouncing around, but we have it divided into like 12 sections, and it's like
okay,
the immigration, the coal companies, the coal camps. Then it's social life, religious life, education, their health and
okay.
safety. We tell about all of those aspects of their lives and what they did, and religion was a very important part. There were churches, everywhere, and
Mm-hmm,
in the coal camps and everywhere. So they were very faithful people, and they brought those traditions from Europe. There
mm-hmm.
over there was a lot of the faith-based families came from over there. So yes, that was a very important part, and we tell that story in the museum. So someone may come in and that may be their favorite section. We love learning about the faith and the photos that we have of a church, say an old church with a
Oh,
beautiful
wow.
steeple, and you think of how they built that back in the days. I mean, they're like magnificent buildings, and there are hundreds of people in front of it. Photos. It's not like just one small family. So we know they were well attended. They were faithful people. So and
That's a
education, as I said, was important. So. Mhm.
that's fantastic because when we've been to a lot of ghost towns up in the Southwest, and this could have become a ghost town. So what
Exactly.
they laid that
Hmm.
foundation and kept
Hmm.
it going, where so many times it just there's a boom and bust, and so
Exactly. And a lot of the
but
coal
yeah.
camps were that way. A lot of them just died out, and only
Mm,
we locals know. Oh, we know where that was, or we've heard of that little coal camp.
okay.
But right now, there may only be 3 homes in that area. Now it just completely died out. Some,
Mm,
like Franklin, that really was a coal camp, and I don't know the reason why it stayed and it is still a community. We're actually called a village. We're not incorporated, but
mm,
Girard, Mulberry, Arcadia, Arma, those are all smaller towns, but they maintain their integrity even after the coal mining
mm.
moved on. The mines closed. They still kept going, and people continued to live there, and they stayed a community. So uh,
Mm,
almost all of the little towns in the area were at one time a coal camp, but many
mm.
have gone. They are like pretty much a ghost town. There's a few people live there, but that's all. Hmm.
Well, I want to touch on what people can experience because I know there's so much in the museum. We're going to talk about the drag line. And we got to talk about Big Brutus. I want to talk about your park. I want to go to your park, and then your sidewalk. So there's other things we want to talk about, but the Jefferson Highway, for those who are new to the Jefferson Highway, but I'm sure if you listen to Big Blend Radio, you're not, because we keep talking about it. It's like someone will say, "Oh, I went to this town in Texas," and we're like, "Wait, we got to get the map
Yeah.
out." you know.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, we're kind of addicted. But I was going to say, tourism has got to be something important to Franklin. And I think about in Southeast Kansas, right? Because so many small towns, there's mining, there's agricultural communities. When you think about the Jefferson Highway going from, Minneapolis, or well, not many in the States, but from Winnipeg to
Mhm.
Minneapolis, crossing over that border, going all the way to New Orleans. When you think about the founding of this and the actual idea of this was to unite these communities, right? And create some pathway, some tourism, which helps boost, the economy for the community. So when you think about Franklin going from coal mining to now what, there needs to be some form of commerce that is happening. And do you think tourism will help that part of it? And what's happening with the Jefferson Highway having this rebirth? And as on your website, and I love you talk about how it took time. It's about to come up for a big anniversary when you look at this, right? 2000 and was it 2000 and not 2000, 1915. It was thought of, created, there was meetings, and then it was 1919, then it actually started to happen, and then numbers went, or names went to numbers, and all that kind of changed in our highway system. But this whole idea of it and the rebirth of it, I think it will really help that whole corridor. What do you think on the
Oh,
tourism level?
I agree. And I think that has played a significant role. We have Explore Crawford County, which is our local Convention and
Hmm.
Visitors Bureau, and then the Pittsburgh Area Chamber of Commerce, which is not just about Pittsburgh. That's why it's called the Pittsburgh Area Chamber of Commerce. We're members. Also,
Okay.
small area communities can become a member of that. They are both organizations are very active in promoting the area, and I think the Jefferson Highway plays a big role in that. Um, the communities are very active, and this kind of goes back as far as Franklin is concerned. When we had the tornado in 2003, we said, well, this is our little community, but people from everywhere, Pittsburgh, Girard, Arma, they all came and helped us. So we said, well, our community is really not just Franklin anymore. Our community is Southeast Kansas, because everyone came to
Okay.
help us. So it's like we're all friends, we're all family, we're all a part of this same group. We all have the same vision of what we want to do. So I think that the Jefferson Highway, like I say, is going to play a big role in it, because I know everything that we promote along the way, we talk about, well, it's located along the Jefferson Highway. The historic sidewalk. We have the longest sidewalk connecting two communities listed on the National and State Historic Register. So we invite people, hey, walk the walk. It's 1.7 miles long. It runs from Franklin to Arma, and it was constructed after the Franklin schools closed, and the children were having to walk along the highway to get to school in Arma. And one little
Oh,
girl was killed. We don't know.
oh,
The story goes that that was kind of the inspiration to push to get a sidewalk built. And so we worked to obtain listing on the state and national historic register, which we obtained. And so that's kind of a fun, a lot of people like to just go see the national historic sites. Well, travel the Jefferson Highway, and we have one right there. We
wow.
have a beautiful marker that was built by volunteers in our community park, which is also located along the sidewalk and along the Jefferson Highway. So
Wow.
the park is a beautiful stopping place. It has a pavilion, a barbecue pit, a playground, memorial gardens, a walking path. People can get out and exercise, a big parking lot. So people who are traveling looking for a place to stop and have lunch, they can pull in there and get out, stretch their legs. And that's just like a block from the museum.
Mm.
Once
That's
again, along the Jefferson Highway,
and
all
that's something overseen by the museum, right?
right. We own that property and maintain it, and it's
Wow.
free and it's open to anyone traveling through that wants to stop. So as we
That's
think of
nice.
things along the way, we think of things. So our next big project. So this is just Franklin and all the community. I mean, we have Arma is north of us, and it's on the Jefferson Highway. So everyone is trying to work together to create things for people to do as they travel, because we have traveled Route 66 years
Right.
ago, and it was fun having all of those places along. So the travel guide's going to be amazing,
Yeah.
because oh, I want to stop and see that. I want to stop and do that. So that's the important thing. So we're just talking now about Franklin, but this just goes on to all the communities located along there. And as I said, Explore Crawford County and the Pittsburgh Area Chamber are promoting this as well. So within the between Franklin and Pittsburgh, and then within Pittsburgh, there are all kinds of markers and things to see. There's actually
Oh,
I say a storefront. It was the Jefferson Highway Garage, but it's the original
that's right.
front of that garage is still in existence. So people can go by there, have their photo taken in front of that's a beautiful concrete, you know, uh, facade to a building. So there's a lot of things to do along the way. So,
That's
of
awesome.
course, our drag line is our big thing. I know you want to talk about that
Okay, I know
as
the
well.
drag line, but I like that. Okay, so we love gardens and it's spring, and what I love about the Midwest is that you all are into pollinator gardens from what I've experienced. I mean, even, I mean, up and down. And I even know Minnesota, part of the Jefferson Highway is actually on a monarch highway, like a pollinator highway. I don't know remember the exact name, but it's like a pollinator highway. And,
Hmm.
even if you go to a rest area or something like that, they have pollinator gardens, and it's such a great thing to learn about. But I know you're going to be working on some of that with this dragline. We talked about a couple years ago when you came on the show, but this is such a big project and it's going to take time to tell everybody how big this is, because this is such a huge, this is massive.
Okay, so the Wilkinson family, who owned the Wilkinson Coal Company, contacted me, Wendell Wilkinson, over 10 years ago. And we started talking about this drag line, and he wanted to donate it to the museum. Well, you can imagine the logistics, and it's about 30 to 35 miles away from us. So how are we going to make that happen? Where are we going to put it? All of those kind of things. We worked out all the details, and it's finally becoming a reality. The Kansas Tourism Department, we received a grant from them to help with the moving.
Nice.
We also received support from the Patterson Family Foundation, the John U. Parolo Education Trust, the Coleman Family Foundation, and the Mitchelson Family Foundation. So we are going to make that happen. They're actually working on it. This is a one-of-a-kind piece of equipment. It is a walking drag line, so it has feet that it walks very slowly, but it does. It's not walking right now. It's not operational, but it has a 100-foot boom on it, which has already been removed. The next step phase, they'll be removing the feet and doing some repair work and things, and then the move will be brought to Franklin. It's going to be located at the intersection of Highway 69 and 47, which is just about 5 blocks from the museum. So it is at the corner where actually there's a Welcome to Franklin sign, and we own that property. So we are so excited about the move, and we have people on the east and west coast and everywhere who simply cannot wait. They are more than excited, and it's not necessarily just people who are interested in coal mining. There are several groups that are like large equipment, groups,
Yeah.
and they have said, a fellow from the Historical Construction Equipment Association, he's a leading expert on earth moving equipment. He said, I still believe that saving this Page dragline is of the utmost importance and at the top of the list for all such items to be preserved in America. I mean, it's a very big
Because
deal.
there's not very many of them anyway.
There are none.
Right?
No, there were only 18 of this exact one made, and ours is the only feasible one for preservation. There's one that's has trees growing up, and it's just like a parts machine is all that
That
we
just
know
tells
is
how
in it.
big it is. I mean, this is
Right.
massive.
This is massive. So anyone who has been to Big Brutus, we are not going to be as big as Big Brutus, but we are going to be as unique as Big Brutus,
Well,
because
Big
it's going to
Brutus is
be
not far from you, right? And that's something
right.
people
And
can see as well.
that's part of our, and they are not located directly on the Jefferson Highway, but we always encourage everyone. You definitely, if you are traveling the Jefferson Highway, you want to go see Big Brutus.
Well,
It's something, yes.
yeah, our whole thing about the Jefferson Highway is, yes, you want to go on the exact route as much as possible, right? There's that
Exactly.
part of it. But a 3-hour detour is not a big deal when you think about road tripping. And I know this year, road tripping, we're getting into that season. I think the way families travel, they're going to want to do more road tripping and get the kids in the car, do things together, go to museums, have the picnic in the park, go see something big. Little boys are going to go crazy about this. And, little girls
Oh,
too, come on, it's like big.
right.
And, I can think about all the people who love to take their Instagram selfies are going to love it. It's just like, what is
Exactly.
that? And you may not even have a clue. This is something
Right.
completely new. So it makes you learn something new, which is why we're the blend, because there's so many things to learn about. We can't be
Right.
pigeonholed. But
And it's only about 15 minutes off of the highway. It's not a 3-hour trip. I mean, it is definitely a
yeah,
side trip that you'll want to take.
yeah,
It
you
is
want to
that
do, yeah,
close
15
to the
minutes is
highway. So,
nothing.
and
Yeah.
the museum in Franklin, we tell the story of the Crawford and Cherokee County coal fields. So that's why we always, include Big Brutus. They are in Cherokee County. Actually, we're in Crawford County. And then we have Crawford County Historical Museum, which is located along the bypass in Pittsburgh. They also, and they have a lot of coal mining, but they tell the whole Crawford County story. So they are another amazing museum that if
Wow.
you're traveling the Jefferson Highway, you'll want to see. Uh, there are several, and then like I say, Girard has a wonderful museum. There are a lot in the area. So once again, I always direct people, go to Explore Crawford County. You can easily find that online. They are more than happy to send you the information of what all is available in our area. Pittsburgh is a vibrant community. They have created Block 22, and they are trying to restore all of the downtown Pittsburgh. They're doing an amazing job of bringing businesses, and we have a very active art group. And there are murals. If people love murals, there are murals all over Pittsburgh, and we have many at the museum in Franklin. So people who love just that. So it's not about just one thing. So you're not going to say a Six Flags over Texas where you're paying to go on rides. This is all a lot of free. I mean, if you want to take a trip with the kids and do some things that are fun, and our museum, we don't charge admission, so it's free. You come.
Wow. Well, I think for families, I mean, look at the price of eggs.
Yeah, right. It's a free day. I mean, we've got a replica train there. They can get on the train, take photos, play. It's just, yeah, a lot of fun things. And like I say, so Pittsburgh along the way, they're the same way. There, other museums charge, some have a fee and some don't. But so there's a lot to do. And I want to get back to, I've gotten off track of the drag line, but we hope to have that drag line here within the next, I'm going to say 3 to 6 months. We don't know what they're going to run into, and they take
it's
it apart.
hard. Yeah.
They have to, they find something that needs repair before they can move it and all of that. So that's the goal. But as we're creating that, that corner will be known as the Dragline Park. And we are creating a butterfly garden, which is going to be huge.
Yay.
And a wildflower meadow. So all the way around this drag line, which is massive, it's a big drag line, will be a wildflower meadow. And there'll be interpretive signs and all of these kind of things. Now, as we know, that's not going to happen overnight. We've been told that, let's see, it sleeps. The first year it sleeps, second year it creeps, and then the third year it leaps. So we know it's 3 years before it's going to be like really vibrant.
But that's part of the education for everyone, and to get involved.
Exactly. So, and it's the Monarch way station.
That's such an amazing program.
And we intend to be listed on that. So we'll be bringing people in. So there's a lot of different areas of tourism. Like I say, that is not necessarily just coal mining. We're trying to bring all these things. So that's like the Pittsburgh Arts Commission. They are, if you love art, you're going to love going to Pittsburgh. So there's a variety of things to do to interest people all along the Jefferson Highway.
Doesn't Pittsburgh have the big gorillas? Or am I getting myself?
They have. So Pitt State, and we are really active with Pitt State. We have a lot of the students come and intern at our museum, and in fact, we just received through a grant from our local community foundation. We've received a new interactive exhibit, and we have interns that are actually working on that right now. They're getting it set up for us. They're going to create everything for us. They've even said they're going to create a phone app for us. So we're really excited to work with Pitt State, on this project. It'll be fun. Wow. And so people all over the country would be able to download that app and then find out all kinds of things about Southeast Kansas. So
that's fantastic.
Gorillas, they are the Pitt State Gorillas.
And you'll see gorillas around town. And the other thing, this is very important because we've done a lot, so now we're hungry. Apparently, fried chicken is king.
Right. So when we talk about places to go or things to do, we have shopping. We have a local casino that's in Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow.
Kansas,
I didn't know that.
Kansas Crossing. It's a state-owned
Dingling.
casino.
Oh, it's a whole other way of mining.
Exactly. Well, and they actually are always mining for treasure is kind of one of their taglines.
Oh, that's great.
Right. So, so there's plenty to do. There's shopping and all that, and restaurants, we have a huge variety. I mean, there's, Italian, a lot of traditional different food type of restaurants, but we are famous for our Southeast Kansas fried chicken, and which actually came from the coal mining days, because it started with one family. The husband was injured in a coal mine, and so his wife started selling fried chicken dinners at home to feed her family, to
See,
raise money
wow.
to feed her family. And then another family, the same thing happened to them, and they created that. So I'm not sure how all of this got started, but the Food Network heard about this somehow, and they had the food wars. So the local chicken restaurants all competed in the food wars. And like I told you, I'm not going to tell you who won. So you'll have to come and try it out for yourself and hit each chicken restaurant and
Yeah,
decide for yourself which is your favorite dinner.
I love it. I love it. There's just so much. And so I'm so excited. We're going to see you at the Jefferson Highway Conference, but most
Yes.
importantly, we're going to get our butts to the museum and come hang out with you and see
Oh,
the
that'll be
exhibits
fun.
and the cabins and it just seems like there's so much to do and that's the important thing is for everyone to, take time out, do something unique, learn about the history of America, which is very diverse in people. It's diverse
Mhm.
in what we've done. And I've got to think there's got to be railroad history if there's mining history as well for those who are into railroads, because that is a whole, man, all I know is you put railroad history and there's like, I mean, there are just history buffs for railroad history,
Right. And we actually have a railroad museum. I failed to mention there, but it's in Corona, which is
Oh,
also out
wow.
towards Big Brutus. Then it's another museum they won't want to miss. It's just as and once again, go to Explore Crawford County. They will get you all the information about it. But it's a magnificent museum, related to the railroad industry in the area. And they have, the railroad cars out there, and in addition to the museum, so they wouldn't want to miss that too. So there's a lot
Awesome.
to do, and a lot, and inexpensive. So someone could travel the Jefferson Highway, and it's really, they could make a nice trip out of it for their family without spending, $100 here and there for admissions to theme
Yeah,
parks
save
or
it
whatever.
for your
And
lodging and yeah, save it for your lodging and that chicken.
Exactly. There's plenty to do. So,
Thank you
we
so
look
much.
forward to it. Oh, thank you for having me. This has
I
been
can't
fun. I
wait.
always
I can't wait.
love talking about the museum and the Jefferson Highway. We were so excited when all of
Oh,
this really became, so prominent in the area. So you asked me about that date, and I'll just quickly tell
yeah.
you that I have that on here. It was well, here we go, right here, 1923. The Jefferson Highway was dedicated in Franklin, our portion, I guess. So it's
Okay.
been 102 years ago. In 1923, it was dedicated along coming through
Right at the
Franklin.
where the museum is too. Like you guys are all part of that history,
Right, exactly. Well, it was dedicated on the site where the drag line is going to be. That's right there at that corner, at that intersection. So we
Oh,
in
you're gonna have to have
2000.
a sign. You're gonna have to have a historic
Oh, we
marker.
will. There'll be signage about all that. So actually, 99 years later, they were having a national convention in Pittsburgh. So we recreated that 99 years later, of a christening there of the Jefferson Highway again, 99 years later. So we're excited now that the drag line will be coming there. And then this year, we haven't brought this up in here, and I'll be quick, but we were selected, the Miners Hall Museum. We were the fourth official tourist information center for Jefferson Highway. So
Oh,
we are
fantastic.
really excited. We have their merchandise, in our gift shop, but we have signs so you can stop by that stopped at one of
Oh,
the Jefferson Highway official tourist centers. And we were really honored to have been selected to be one of those sites. So we invite people all the time to stop in. If you're traveling Jefferson Highway, stop. We're a free museum. Stop in and see us.
oh.
Enjoy our park, and
And sign
we
the
have
guest
fun
book
down there.
because they want to know where you come from too.
Exactly. And if you don't want to sign the guest book, put your last name and your zip code. That's all we care.
Yeah.
Zip code gives
Do
us,
you get international visitors?
Oh, yes. We have
Wonderful.
visitors from all. In fact, we just entertained a group from Italy that were coming here. They were wanting to know about the Italians that settled in the area. They're doing a story and a book. I'm not sure what all, but and so we entertained them for a couple of days. So, but we do have just travelers that are coming in,
Wow.
from all over. Yes,
I love this. I love this. Well,
I
we
know.
can't wait to visit. So
Okay.
everyone, minershallmuseum.com is a website to go to. I do want to remind everyone the Jefferson Highway Conference is ready for you to visit and be part of. It's happening in June in McAlester, Oklahoma. Go to jeffersonhighway.org to learn more. McAlester, again, another coal mining connection there. But yeah, the first week of June, They're having a Sociability Caravan run, and you can also go to our last episode on the Jefferson Highway podcast to hear all about the conference. And Phyllis will be there, so you need to go.
Yeah.
Just saying, just saying.
Oh, it's going to
We're
be
gonna have
fun.
a party. We're gonna have a
It is.
party.
It's going to be. I can't wait. Everything sounds like a great time. Yeah.
A lot of entertainment and tourism
Yes.
talk and history, and oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we're very
Mm-hmm.
excited too. Well, you
And
take
CC
care,
Auto
Phyllis.
is going to be performing. CC Auto is going to be
Yeah,
performing.
she was on our
And we
show.
had
She's
her.
amazing.
Oh, she's amazing. So you won't want to miss that. She performed for us last year at our annual membership dinner, and the guests loved her. So you'll definitely want to make the trip down there for that.
And there's going to be a murder mystery thing going on.
Oh,
yeah,
I can't
we like
wait
that.
for that. And everyone, well, not everyone, they're encouraging you to dress up in your 1920s costume. So I'm ready. It's going to be so much fun.
Awesome. I think it's going to be a great, great time and get everyone together. That's what I think about doing the guide and the highway and having all these conversations is uniting everyone. So that's going to be the best thing. So everyone can be connected on the corridor. So that'll be great.
This is wonderful that you're pulling it all together and getting the word out like this. We love this. This is great to be a part of this. And we appreciate all that you're doing to promote the highway and all of us along the highway.
I think we're just going to be going up and down the highway for like many years. So you'll see us a lot,
Right.
But we're glad you're a part of it too. So everyone,
Thank you.
minershallmuseum.com, go check it out and go visit. And more importantly, thank you all for joining us here on another episode of Big Blend Radio's Jefferson Highway Show. Stay tuned. We're here every fourth Thursday, and I know that that's going to be doubling up with more show dates as well. So thanks so much, Phyllis. You take care.
You bet. Thanks, Lisa. Bye.
Thank you for joining us here on the Big Blend Radio Jefferson Highway Show. The show airs every fourth Thursday, and we encourage you to go to jeffersonhighway.org to learn more about the Jefferson Highway Association or even become a member. You can also dig into the history of the highway and share travel notes with friends at the Jefferson Highway Association Facebook group. Follow our shows at bigblendradio.com. Happy travels!